Yo, don't you be a fool. You finna hear the truth, watch me do what I do. On the pod with the mic and I ain't keeping it cool. Gotta bring the heat, gotta hit the street. Gotta stay 100, they ain't scaring me. You wanna censor a boss, you wanna censor a king. I'm not taking a loss, facts is all I bring. I'm speaking candidly, ancestors they stand with me. It's Pharaoh and Dessalines, the blunt of reality.
It's your boy Dessalines.
Hey, with Pharaoh, what's going on, Blunteers? Yo, we got something good for you guys today. And we got our girl here too with us, man.
Mars in the building, Mars in the building. All right. Danny, man, welcome to the Blunting of Reality. How you feeling, man?
Feeling good, baby.
Oh, yeah. That's good to hear. Danny, as a producer, and with the recent track you got going on with Iyah, how is it feeling, everything, man? Like, how is everything feeling with that? And I know this is a weird question, but is she the best person you ever worked with as far as when it came to these last few years?
Hell yeah. Yeah, it feels awesome, man. Like, it's been a wild ride. We've been grinding. These days have been long since this song came out, and it's been tough because it's just the two of us. But man, it's so exciting just to see the reception to it, and I'm so excited to release all the new stuff as well. I mean, yeah, it's been wild.
As far as when it comes to Karmageddon, right?
Yeah.
You've heard what we've had to say about it, but during that process, when y'all was making that song, what was going through your heads, man? I saw Iyah on the InfoWars the other day. It was yesterday, and she was talking about how you guys just be talking back and forth about different subjects. So what was going through your guys' mind when you were making that track?
Frustration.
Really?
Yeah. Man, I don't know how it was. Where are you guys? What city are you in?
We're in Jersey right now. We're in Union City, New Jersey, right close to New York.
In Australia, I don't know if you guys heard, but like the lockdowns here were like some of the most severe in the world.
Yeah,
really.
Which was pretty wild because Australia's always been such a free nation, and our government and institutions never really did us dirty. So the people here just trust. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I had faith in the institutions. And I think I did too. Faith in the system, faith in healthcare, faith in our government's always just done the right thing for us. We're a really small population. We're a massive island. We're really laid back people in Australia. And then this shit started popping off, and everyone took it real serious at first, like the beginning of 2020. So everyone's like doing their job to be a good citizen, doing what we're asked to do. And then it just started getting cuckoo, man. Like, it was just getting weird. Yeah. People couldn't work. Victoria was completely locked down for months. Like, you'd get arrested if you left your house. You'd get fined.
Damn.
Wow.
You had to have permission just to, like, go for a walk. It was crazy, man. Suicide rates were just skyrocketing.
Ugh.
And I think for us as logical thinkers, it started to open our eyes to other things and cracks, and just watching it all unfold worldwide, and the story kept changing. Things were working and then it wasn't working. Masks were working and they weren't working. Everything was just changing like day to day. And if you're a logical thinker, I mean, it was just weird. And then that just started making us have a lot of conversations. And we put a lot of those conversations into the song because, we are not for anything political. We are not of one side or the other. We're just for logic and creativity and the best for you dudes, like for all of us. So we're like, let's put that in a song.
Right.
Because we talk about it every fucking day.
Right.
Like, let's turn this into music. And I was actually having, like, the week before we wrote it, I had a meeting with Beyonce's writing team.
Right.
And they were working on the country record and wanted my input and involvement. And it came up in the conversation, like, when they write, they're always looking at the news and like what's happening in the world at the time, to have something to talk about that's like relevant when the tracks drop. And I'm like, that's a really great observation. So that day we wrote the song and had no words, but we had melodies, and we're like, let's talk about what's going on in the world today. So it was like really kind of like, I guess like serendipity, but also just like an outlet of frustration.
Right. I peeped a lot of that frustration. I don't know if y'all did too. There's a lot of frustration in those lyrics that we mentioned it before.
Yeah.
Me and Pharaoh, we talk about these things all the time, like even on and off camera, as far as what's going on in the world. And like what happened with COVID was like such a large thing that everyone around the world went through, losing family members, so it was definitely really serious. So after you guys dropped the song and you seeing how everybody's reacting to it, right? Like, what's is it all the way up? You guys gonna make more songs like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be something about healing in the music and something about what's going on. We're no Rage Against the Machine, for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you bring up that point, because like the pushback and the backlash that we got up on this song to release it, there's no way it could have happened within the normal channels of the music industry. It just wouldn't have been allowed. And because we were getting so much of that pushback here, I was actually telling her, I'm like, your comeback song needs to be insane. Like, it needs to be a statement. And if this is going to be the statement, you need to be prepared to post and ghost, because there's going to be so much hatred. They're either going to love you or they're going to want to burn you at the stake for it. So put the track out, and within a week, it's like trending on Instagram. We get the message that it's trending while we're still in the studio, and we don't believe it.
I didn't believe it either. I did not believe it.
Convincing, like we saw the little arrow, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means. So then we like Googled it, and then Meta's like, this is the symbol for a song that's trending. And we're like, huh? There's got to be a mistake.
Yeah.
And then the rest has been history. It's been like a wildfire. I mean, the song's only been out for 8 weeks, and it's gone viral everywhere. It's number 1 in so many countries. We hit 16 on the worldwide chart. We've been reached out to by like all the people that would have told us that we couldn't release this. You know what I mean? It's so funny. Hindsight, right? Yeah. Like, they wouldn't let you do it in the first place, but if it works, they want to get in on it.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, so it's been interesting, man.
Nah, that's insane. Like, it's funny you said you guys were surprised. When I first heard the song, I was going crazy. I listened to it like 30 times. I'm like, never. Okay, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's only a matter of time until they take you guys down, right? But they let it rock. I was like, wow, okay. Yeah. So when that happened, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be the number 1 song of the decade now, because if everybody around the world hears this song, they're gonna be like, hey, there's a lot of truth in this. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, what you thought.
Yeah, actually, I remember when you sent me that video. I was like, yo, I cannot believe this has actually happened. I was like, yo, you know what? We have to make a reaction video to this, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, thank you guys for doing that.
No doubt. Over here, and like where we are in Jersey, yes, we were going through the same things. We had bus loads of people just passing away. Like they ran out of space in the morgue or something like that in the beginning of COVID. So it's crazy that you're talking about that, because it really impacted a lot of people's lives, in ways that are as serious as, of course, losing a loved one, but also as serious as career-wise. You know what I'm saying? Iyah mentions that she was actually like working on the front lines during the whole thing of COVID.
Yeah, she was a doctor working in multiple hospitals in the emergency department, treating people for the issue. And, it's interesting that you say like so many people were affected. It's like, dude, I think every corner of this planet was affected. And, what... Can I ask you a question? I know I'm being...
No. You can ask us whatever you want. We actually want you to ask us whatever you want, to be honest.
I mean, look, as far as what I've been able to read, the issues at the very beginning of all this, beyond the unnamed issue is this crazy, was the ventilators.
Yeah. A lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people passed because of that. It was very human.
I mean, that's crazy. The majority of what a human breathes is nitrogen, not oxygen. So if you're pumping someone's lungs completely full of oxygen, they're lacking nitrogen. It's going to damage the entire respiratory system. You will die.
Wow. And the thing is,
how don't we know that? How don't we know that?
I have no idea.
Why was it never talked about?
Why we don't know that?
Yeah, like that's.
Yeah. And there were doctors that were coming out at the beginning, and Mark Zuckerberg recently just went on Joe Rogan saying, "Yeah, the Biden administration were telling us what to censor, and it was anything other than the narrative around the vaccine and the COVID." And then these doctors that were speaking out saying like, hey, I don't think this is the approach with the ventilators, and I don't think this is the approach with these other things. And, vaccines can work, but there's other things that we need to look at as well. We're just being de-licensed, ridiculed, cancelled. And that's the line in the song, cancel culture. What a vibe. Right, we couldn't be more sarcastic when we were saying that.
Yeah. I'll keep that. Yeah.
The whole song is a sarcastic town hall question of like what we would say if we were there with whoever was orchestrating all the string pulling and making all the decisions for us as humanity. It's like, it's the biggest fuck you. Like, without saying that, trying to get allies behind us that haven't woken up to this yet to be like, there's some good points here. And to do that without being forceful or aggressive with it, but just being like, hey, have you considered this?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, maybe just think about that. We're not telling you what to think, but these are questions. Like, what happened to critical thinking?
Yeah, the dialogue is definitely necessary, and to be afraid of that is crazy. I mean, that's during the whole time, all I remember is the word misinformation. Mm-hmm. And they created this word and used it as an excuse to take licensed doctors, specialists, and people who actually have studied like the sickness and what you should be treating it or how to treat it. Like literally they had in America, I don't know if you ever heard of the disinformation dozen.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Robert F. Kennedy was on that list. And another, like it's crazy. He couldn't be on any social media.
Creator of the mRNA and the dude who invented the vaccine, he was on the disinformation list.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And that culture is crazy.
Einstein would have been on that list. It's wild.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And like, I empathize for everyone, man, because we all suffered through this, and I think it's also important to recognize that a lot of people that were involved in this as well thought they were doing the right thing too.
Right.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, I think everyone was just trying to do the right thing. No one saw it coming, except the people who saw it coming.
Yeah, that part right there. Except the people who saw that coming. Like there are people like I mentioned Alex Jones before, his crazy ass, right? Who predicted a situation like this before, and also there were actually other people. I can't get their specific names, but like years ago, saying, "Hey, they're gonna force these vaccines on us pretty soon. They're gonna come up with a new sickness." Like people were predicting this happening before it actually happened. Nobody believed it would be able to happen to this scale. So that grand confusion, that chaos was the perfect mixture, because you had people, they literally had people demonizing people who were unvaxxed, So
that was so dumb.
Yeah.
That was so dumb. Like, better pick a tribe and hate the other side. And it's this obsession with labels and teams is so counterintuitive. It's so counter growth. It's like how it's 2025, and I feel like we live in this era of just murderous oversimplification of every subject.
Right.
It's so wild. It's like just because you don't agree with a vaccine means you don't agree with science, and you don't agree with any vaccines, so you're an idiot. But that's so simplified. That's so crazy. Like, man, that's absurd. That's an absurdly small-minded way to look at things. But it shuts the conversation down, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
shuts the conversation down. So there's no avenue for growth. There's no avenue for somewhere in the middle is always the reason, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
It's like an argument between a husband or a wife or a best friend. You're both coming at it from your own points of view, and if you've never had the conversation, you can never patch it up.
Right.
But if you can have the conversation of why the fight started, you can empathize and forgive, and you can learn and grow, and then never get into that situation again. But it's kind of like this string pulling thing,
puppeteer,
where you can it's genius. Mm-hmm. Divide the hell out of everyone so they can't have conversations that lead to growth and knowledge, and then we can do whatever we want with it.
Right. I mean, fear is very powerful usage when it comes to leadership, I believe, at least. So we talk about this all the time. Like, it's crazy. He said it's genius. Mm-hmm. We believe that there is an evil genius behind it all, and that the masses now we're being more informed about everything. Like, songs like this is like Karmageddon is one of those songs that's going to be heard across generations because it speaks so highly of what's going on right now and makes people more aware and makes people want to do more research. Like, what? Like, man-made virus watch the millions die. Are there man-made viruses? What? They did kill people? Why? Who made these viruses? What's going on? Why?
Why they make
Yeah, I mean, it's studies.
It's biochemical warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's not Lyme disease.
Like, do we need this shit? Like, what are we doing this for? Shouldn't we be making cures?
Yeah.
Why are we trying to make more viruses?
But there's less money in cures. That's why there's less money in cures.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like, why would you invest trillions of dollars in cures when you can make sicknesses and treatments? Which one would you choose if you wanted to make that money?
Yeah.
You know,
well, money doesn't buy you anything when everyone's dead.
Right.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's the message.
What's the point of that? I mean, when did we forget that our leaders are public servants? Like, they're here to serve us.
That part.
Right.
That part.
What happened? When did people forget that? It's crazy. Like, man, just don't pay attention. If they can't reach you, they can't control you.
Right.
You know what it is? I think everybody's distracted, man.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. It is distractions, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the endless scroll. I mean, the phone is the new news for fear, right?
Right.
But there's so much hope in the world. Look at this conversation that we're having right now.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I think they shot themselves in their foot with what they did with C-19, because it was such an outrageous eye opener that everyone's like, nah,
right.
I don't think so anymore. Like, fool me once, shame on me.
Yeah.
Fool me twice, I don't know, man.
Right. So now, I think that, what do you guys think is the next thing? Because now they can't do this. They can't pull the same trick twice. We've seen the magic trick already. What's the next magic trick do you think is going to happen?
The Black Plague. Who knows?
That's scary right there.
That was almost a thing. Monkeypox.
Yeah.
Remember the whole monkeypox came right after.
Yeah.
It did, right? It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And now this whole gender transitioning conversation that was just all the noise 6 months ago is gone.
Right.
Yeah.
What happened to Me Too? That's gone.
Right.
Everything's just a little distraction.
Right.
And all of those little things were just the lead up to here's the real rug pull. This is the ace up our sleeve. Right. But man, I feel like, poorly managed. They showed their cards, and we're calling their bluff now, I think.
Oh, 100%.
I think people are over it. I think Karmageddon is just a really good sign of that, that it's gone that far and they didn't shut it down.
100%.
It's only getting further by the day. And TikTok tried to shut it down. There's so many countries that you can't post it. Germany pulled it straight off YouTube the second it went up.
Oh, wow.
Pulled it down. But it doesn't matter. I mean, I think the world's going to wake up with or without songs like this. I think it's just there's only so many times that you can poke someone until they start getting annoyed.
Right. That's 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, we've got to let go of this idea of labels and teams. Like, words have no power, but actions have everything. And I'm sick of seeing people like, you're left, I'm right. You're homophobic, I'm not. You're racist, this. No, man, take the labels off shit. It's time for that to stop. Like, people are way more complex than that.
Right.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Fact.
Way more complex. The second we understand how complicated we really are and how complicated these subjects are, we can all grow and become one.
Mm-hmm. Raise our collective consciousnesses through education and just talking to a discourse. You know what I'm saying? And like that's what I believe, that where we are as a society, as a human society, where we are capable of reaching that level where, hey, let me not label you anymore. Let me get the logic of why you think this way and present me some facts behind it. You know, instead of trying to label each other immediately. Like you can't do that. You're not a licensed what do you call those people who can diagnose you immediately? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Profiling.
Yeah, exactly.
So. No, I don't subscribe to that newsletter.
Right. Can I get a little weird real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Please, let's get as weird as you want.
It's time to get weird. I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited.
All
What
right.
I came for.
All right. One thing that wasn't mentioned in the song, right?
Yep.
That recently got really more popular. You know what I'm going to say, Pharaoh.
Are you reading his mind or something? You don't want to know. What is it?
No. One thing is, what are these things in the sky that they say they don't know what they are? And do you guys have it in Australia? Strange things, strange things in the sky.
We're talking about things that propel, like fossil fuel engines can't propel things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What's the deal?
Yeah, dude. I don't give a shit. I'm a believer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
We got a
believe it.
believer over here.
Yep, he's one of our.
Man,
He's one of us.
Hey,
Yes.
Danny, welcome to the crew, man.
yeah, man. I think it's illogical to rule that out.
Right.
If anything can happen, and I mean, there is a quantum science, and there's a quantum world, and if something can be in two places at once and it's interacted with when it's looked at, the impossible is possible. So, prove it wrong.
Right. Prove it wrong.
Prove it wrong. Show me that it's not real.
Right.
And then we can have a different conversation. But I'm not going to rule anything off the table because I just don't have the facts that it's not real. Talk to me about Egypt.
Right.
How did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what about Göbekli in Turkey?
Right.
What about all these Stonehenges and is Serpent Park in the middle of your country? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
And what is that? The Serpent Park? Do you guys? What is that?
It's thousands of years old, and it's a serpent in a massive field of mounds, and grass has grown over it. And the snake's head's pointing right at the sun on the solstice.
Oh wow!
And it's thousands of years old, and it's wild. And then in Indonesia, there's pyramids. The Aztecs have pyramids. Egypt's got these incredible pyramids. I mean, there's a point in time where, sorry, but coincidence is don't denounce something as impossible when it's clearly we just don't know enough.
Right.
Yeah. Have you guys ever come across Graham Hancock and the Ancient Apocalypse?
No.
Oh, you guys will be so interested, man.
Yeah.
He is one of archaeology's most hated theorists, and he has dedicated his entire life to some of these questions that you guys are probably wondering about. And he's got somehow Netflix have produced 2 seasons of documentaries for him, and the third one is going to be all about Egypt, and he's actually bringing on his biggest challenge, which is the world's most famous Egyptologist and archaeologist and professor who denounces everything that Graham says, and he wants him to go one-on-one with him in this documentary on Egypt.
Wow.
But I mean, how do you explain the Epic of Gilgamesh?
Yeah.
and Sumerian, which is like the only language isolate on the planet that looks like binary code. And it says that the answers that we're looking for are in our genetic code, and geneticists have now found that you can actually put binary code into human DNA and then remove it from human DNA unaffected.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's too many weird things. But until someone can tell me Egypt's a reason and a rhyme on how humans built that, I'm on Team UFO for sure.
Oh yeah, of course. You must be on Team UFO. It's just too much out there. Like even the stuff you just mentioned, there's so much that we could actually dive into. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a fact. Hey, you know what's so crazy, right? There was this I forgot what part in Africa, but they spoke about like reptile people. They called them Chitari or something like that. I don't know if you heard of that before.
I haven't.
They
Tell me more.
spoke about like how reptile people created humans, and they got like paintings and like cave paintings and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting, man. I forgot what tribe is. I could look it up, but I forgot what the name of the tribe is. But it's pretty cool, man.
That's fast. Yeah, there's a lot of different stories of different species. You know, of course, these are just stories that go into the field of, you know, people who do research into the you know, different species that come from different dimensions or outer space. But a lot of stories stem from them experimenting on the human race. Even so much so where you said that scientists actually figured out a way to put binary code into DNA. But there's also a story of, hey, a specific being did this to the human race 70,000 years ago in their DNA, put a cap or something on it to make sure that we don't live as longer than 120 or something like that, which is completely insane, right?
I've heard that. Who's is that? Brian Howard's theory?
I think I heard it from Billy Carlson, but I think he also heard that from another scientist who just discovered that or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is like the oldest language, the oldest tablet ever found on Earth, which predates what archaeologists even say that the human race is. It specifically says that the giants came and created man with their DNA and ate DNA. And they put a worship genetic into our DNA and capped our lifespan. And scientists have recently found that you can actually, with magnetic pulses, turn on and off a human's, we'll call it faith or worship genetic part that makes someone highly religious be able to stop believing in God, and someone who's completely atheist start believing in God. So I wasn't there. We weren't there. So I'm not going to rule it out.
Yeah, of course. We weren't there. You can't rule it out, but it is completely fascinating. And the thing is with I don't know if you know, but Trump getting into office, he's made...
Who's that?
I'm sorry?
Who's that?
Donald J. Trump, our president-elect of the United States of America.
Y'all are silly. Y'all are just silly.
Yeah, MAGA, baby. But yeah, he's talking about trying. He wants to he was on Joe Rogan saying he might let some of that information out, a little bit of it, with the UFOs and some other stuff like that. What do you think about that?
Super excited.
Yeah.
At the bare minimum, it's fun as hell to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
And why not enjoy the thoughts? Like, how boring is just thinking, nah, impossible.
Nah, of course.
Boring. I don't want to do that.
It's scary though. For example, if we find out that, you know, our military or our countries have technology that literally makes electricity, or they could actually give us free energy for the rest of our lives, and they're actually holding that technology against us, or we're flying in these planes, in these fossil fuel planes, when anti-gravitation can make us travel faster and probably better. Are they keeping it away? Like even some of the cures, like with the vaccines or with some of the treatments, with everything that's happening, and it's possible that they have things that will cure us and they're choosing not to. What do you think about that? Do you think that is the reason why they haven't gone full, hey, this is all the truth? Because they need to keep society at a certain place?
It's the same thing as been always, like from back in the Bible. It's just money, power,
Right.
control. I mean, you could argue, what does the world look like when everything is free and just given? I guess that'd be an interesting simulation to run as well and see what that looks like. Would that have its own elements of complete chaos as well? But I mean, look, if you can create hydrogen electricity is a real thing and it works. Nuclear power is a thing and it works, and it's almost net zero on the environment as well, and it's infinite. So there's already solutions for energy. Again, why would you want to release that if you're a business owner? Like if you're a $1 trillion industry and there's millions of people employed by that industry whose livelihoods depend on it, and they've got a really good foothold, why would they surrender that? Because they're just really good people? Because they're just divine and just want to see the world be a better place? I mean, how many people in history have done that?
No, that's 100%.
I mean, they've dedicated a whole book to that guy, and it's called the Bible.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be the one of one. Right? He died for his sins. I mean, I think it's just part of an unfortunate defect of humanity is just this thing that total power does corrupt. And normally the person that rises to the top because they're the type of person that can step on throats.
Right. I mean,
I don't know. Maybe you guys disagree with that, but
no, I don't. Yeah. I agree with everything. I don't know what about you guys.
I agree.
Yeah, it's definitely thought provoking. And it begs the question of you said it's our nature, and me and Pharaoh go back and forth all the time. And I'd love to believe that we are loving people as humanity is. And you said it corrupts. The earth literally gives us everything that we need as far as food and shelter, and yet we destroy it. Why? Why are we in this abusive relationship with the planet, with our environment? And we want to say it's in our nature, but I don't believe that, because there are certain, countries.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. It is in our nature. Adam had everything and still wanted some more things. What's up with that?
I mean,
I'm just saying, since we brought that book up and all, it is human. Unfortunately, we make machines that are really intelligent, and apparently those machines are supposed to mimic our level of intelligence, but there is that. What do we talk about a lot about AI? What is that thing we always say? It lacks what? That feeling.
Empathy.
Oh, that empathy. So the feeling is where it changes. That where the civil war within our own self is because of that. Where we go from our light to our dark, our light to our dark, our light to our dark. And I think when we do look out at the world and we see, I don't know, I'm just one of those, I think the chaos is divine. It's divine chaos. But that's why we have these conversations, to remind each other, hey, you still have that right and that almost celestial power to think for yourself.
Right.
To explore it for yourself.
Right.
Explore it for yourself. If I think, I'm just one of those believers that, if you, and I'm sorry, I ripped the mic out of your hand for a second.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I felt a little passionate about that one, because it is the human experience. Unfortunately, we sit here and we perpetuate all these experiences over and over. If you look at every civilization and you move here, I mean, we're just repeating the same things.
Right.
So that idea of nothing is new under the sun, but I'm one of those people, I think that, the more work an individual does on themselves, you begin to take those steps to make, the human experience a different one. So I don't know. I have the same idea. I want to think we're all great and that we're going to be all right. But you can't ignore that on the other side of Cain is Abel, and on the other side of Abel is Cain.
That makes sense. I get that. The yin and yang, the whole balance of the universe. I get it.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. I love what you're saying. I think also it's like humanity coming together in these large groups is unnatural. And it tends to disconnect us from the stars, and it tends to disconnect us from... I don't want to put the spiritual realm under the religious label, but there is something spiritual that I think we can feel it. Some of us have antennas for it. But the larger the noise, the larger the group, the bigger the disconnect. And the system's just geared. It's like, how are we still running a country by a king, a prime minister, or a president, when that's a job that is from the very set off destined to fail?
Yeah.
Right.
How can anyone manage that many people's wants and needs if we're all different? It's and then emotion gets involved, and then power gets involved, and then money gets involved.
Right.
Religions get involved. Corporations get involved. And there's just too many agendas, and it's a 4-year term. And you guys have 330 million people and rule the rest of our Western countries are allies to you and vice versa. So we all toe the line together, make decisions together. You guys have historically led the roost in the modern world on that. But it doesn't work, does it? I mean, look at the state. It's crazy. How can you imagine any one of you being the president and being able to possibly understand what everyone's desires and needs are, and then have money thrown at everybody that's working for you, being torn away from your mission statement, and then working against you to get the things that you want to get done, so that you finish your 4-year terms essentially accomplishing nothing?
That's exactly what happens.
So how did we let parliaments and governments take pay from anything other than the public servant salary? I mean, literally, they should be capped at a certain amount of money, and then you'd find the person that wants to do the job properly.
Right.
Because it's not that much money. But I want to lead because I want to see us do better.
Right.
And we don't take donations, or we don't take anything in this from anything other than the money that's allocated by taxes that we've shown the people this is how we're allocating it. Do you agree on how we allocate it? And then if the people say no, then they don't do it because they work for us. And we voted on that. But it's gone the other way completely, hasn't it? It's like, hey, we are born on this planet, and the weirdest thing is, to me, we have to pay to live here.
Right. That's the truth. Hey, you gotta pay to be on this God's green earth. What, you were born? Welcome to bills. You know what I'm saying?
A few points you made. I'm sorry. A few points you made. You ever read the clandestine? I think it's a clandestine prophecy. I was about to look it up. Should look into that book. When you mentioned emotion getting involved and money getting involved, like the questions people have been asking, or human beings have been asking questions, and they go out on these quests, discovering different lands, or, essentially creating markets, controlling those markets. Some of the things that we've talked about already throughout this conversation, I feel like I'm going to look it up. So if you see me on my phone, it's because I'm taking notes. You say some things I like. And I think it's called the clandestine prophecy. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I'd love to read that.
I'm going to get that for you.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, this is such a cool conversation.
Celestine prophecy. That's what it was.
What's it called?
The Celestine prophecy.
The Celestine prophecy. No, I'll have to check that out.
James Redfield. Yeah.
James
I've heard of James Redfield.
Yeah. Hey.
Awesome.
Yeah, we could go. Is there you got any more questions you want to ask us as far as what's going on over here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have too many questions. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think would have happened? I mean, I just want to preface this question that I genuinely do not care about politics. I am ignorant to politics because I have no interest in it.
Right.
I care about people, and I care about all of us. I love us all. And I mean that genuinely, unconditionally. But what do you think would have happened if let me prefix this again in making myself look very negative. I was in the US. I was living there when Trump won in 2016, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I'd always been liberal my whole life. So when that happened, I was like, oh my God, like that was my thoughts were, I was anti-war and wanted peace. And I thought people should have their right to freedom and freedom of speech. And he, in my mind, and all the propaganda around him, the way the media was framing him was very not that. That was going to be the end of that. And then he did his term and he actually built all these bridges. And I was like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought, but I think he's a kook. And I think anyone that wants to do that job is a psychopath. Sorry. Like, anyone that wants that job, there's something about you that's not like us. And it's not in a positive way. But back to my question, what do you think would have happened if he didn't win?
Oof. Who wants to go first? I'll go first. I'll go first. I got a million things to say. So if I was the same way, I wasn't a liberal, right? I did 2016. I did not like politics. I had did some research. My thoughts were a little all over the place, but the more rabbit holes I went into, I understood. But at that point, everybody was like, oh my gosh, he's a racist. But this was the media trying to paint him as this negative racist guy all of a sudden. Before he wasn't, but it was a whole bunch of stuff that they were trying to smear him on. And, the years happened in the same way. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, he pulled people out of wars. Because I have a cousin who's a veteran. So I'm like, okay, I have a lot of respect for veterans and people who actually fight for their country. And I'm like, oh, he actually did all right. Like you said, if he did not win, I guarantee you, currently, right now, you see how there's war right now, it probably would have been at least 5 times worse. At least.
You believe that?
100%.
Can I ask you why?
The reason why is this. The personality type, he just explained it. Donald Trump is a fucking psychopath, right? And he's literally had meetings, other generals, they've had meetings at the table where he literally talked to a person who was the head of the Al-Qaeda or something like that, and he wanted to pull people out of war. He's a businessman, and he showed this guy a picture of his house. He said, I'm pulling my soldiers out of their country. If one of them die, I'm bombing your fucking house. And then he walked out the fucking room. The generals were impressed. The nigga was scared. All those American soldiers came home. That is why when you have somebody as powerful as Trump, who's used to being around people, people who meet him actually like other popular people like him. They like the strength he shows.
I meant more so like if he didn't win, what the world would have been. Like you made a point.
Oh, because as we learned the last 4 years with Biden, I could go into a whole nother thing with Biden, but there's a certain party that needs to perpetuate war. In the last 20 years, Trump has been the only one who didn't go to war with any country. Probably the last 40 years. And that's just a fact. I can't lie about that. So proof is in the pudding. These guys, the other party, they were going more towards war. There's always somebody working behind the scenes.
Because they have something to gain.
Yes, because with war, there's money. But then when you a person like Trump and you say something like, hey, I just don't want anyone dying. Listen, I don't want anyone dying. No more war. We're going to talk to these guys. We're going to talk to them. We don't know what happens in those back rooms, but somehow everybody comes out and says, you know what? I wanted to kill you, but now I don't. Stuff like that. So that's what I mean by that. That's why I even had that thought. Yeah. So
yeah. And can I ask the other two people that haven't spoken yet on this question? What do you think would have happened to democracy if Trump wasn't the winner this time around?
This time around, currently.
Yeah, this time, like for what's coming tomorrow, isn't it? What would have that meant in your minds for democracy? Because what I saw, and the reason I'm asking this, just for more context, is that I might be wrong, But what I heard was that they made it illegal to show identification in California at the voting booth. They were bringing in lots of illegals and giving them benefits and cluster populating them at huge scale. And then the Democrats were giving them lots of benefits to keep them in their pocket. And my understanding was that you shouldn't even be allowed to vote if you're not a citizen. Don't you think if don't even let me answer, don't let me continue. What do you think would have happened? Just based on those?
People would have probably realized, like, we fucked up big time. Even some of the things that, some of the things that they were pushing during the 4 years, man. The gender thing, you got gender, you got mass migrants coming through borders and stuff like that. So to be honest, it would be hell, man. That's why I like Trump, man, because when you're running a country like ours, you need to be competent, and you need to be able to look at situations and be like, no, this is the best move for the country. Now, when it came to these guys over here, they were worried more about outsourcing resources, funding wars. Like, we'd have realized, this was the worst. We would have realized, like, we are in the worst situation, worst predicament in our lives. That's why right now I'm looking forward to what Trump and all everybody that he's in partnership with. I like what they're doing right now, man. So to be honest, in the next 4 years, I'm hoping that this country, becomes, better when it comes to just how we outsource money, how we just a political thing, man. You know what I'm saying, man?
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. I'd like to hear your thoughts as well.
Interestingly, so I want to piggyback on something you said. Realizing that, can you say it again? Realizing that we made the
wrong decision.
The wrong decision. But I think prior to the election, unless I was the only one thinking it, I think we realized it was the wrong decision. It would have been the wrong decision. And I say that because, I don't know, I got to say this before I go into it a little deeper. I look at life a little different. I reflect a lot. And that's my way of turning the noise off so I can actually tap into what's larger. And what I mean by that is, in 2016, I was an undergrad. I happened to be a double major, and one of my majors was political science, and I minored in social justice because I care about people. So I think prior to this election coming up, what I saw in America is this: the prices, the financial crisis, it's affecting everyone. We have these conversations and say, oh, well, this certain class of people happen to be a certain color. They don't understand our struggle. The struggle was the same struggle for everyone. Mm. So the person who's buying that, everyone's buying that $8 carton of eggs. Everyone is dealing with the prices for what they are. So everyone has a common goal now. Everyone shares the same sentiment, irregardless of what color you are, what neighborhood you live in, or even what type of job or tax bracket you're in. Everyone's feeling it. So I thought that realization was already there prior to the election. And that's just me. I don't know. Maybe because, again, I think I care and I believe more in people. I don't spend time trying to figure out what party you in and what. And all of that to me is sort of kind of fine because you have your choice and what you resonate with. Yeah. But I think I always try to find a common ground with people. So I just felt like that realization was already there. And maybe that's why the turnout is what it is.
Right.
That's me. Yeah. Unfortunately, you know, to me, the way I saw Democrats, they messed up. Y'all messed up. I thought y'all was gonna fix it by funneling in, immigrants, because your strategy is that they're gonna boost the economy and help it, and that shit blew up in your face.
Yeah,
it blew up in your face, and you couldn't. I mean, I remember just like seeing ads on YouTube, and I'm a woman, but Kamala, you asking us for money, girl? What money? Donate to what? Huh? I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna the situation's fucked right now. You asking me for money? Where's the money at? You got the money. We asking you for it, and you're and you donate to the nah. I don't feel you right now, and and it's sad because it's like a long time ago. It's that she's a woman, and everyone runs because she's a woman, but it's like you've been here for 4 years.
Right.
You've been here for 4 years. We hungry. These quote unquote reproductive, this, that you talk about, but you was here for 4 years. What was you doing?
Right.
What were you, or as Haitians would say, "Saw top reglé." What was you doing? What was you working on? Because you telling me now this is where you at and this is what you gonna do. But what was you doing all this time? I'm lost.
Yeah.
I'm lost. I don't know. So I thought the realization was already there. Or maybe it was just my own realization, but I feel like the realization, as Pharaoh put it, would have been compounded had the things gone differently. Like it would have been more amplified.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, I think the votes reflected that.
Right.
That what you three all said must be an underlying sentiment for everybody. As an Australian, without any without a horse in the race, I was just seeing it like really zoomed out. And what it looked like to me was like it was a vote for democracy. Because if he didn't win, well, not him, but if that party didn't win, it would set a precedent for vote tampering indefinitely.
Right.
What they were doing was like it was wildly tampering. It was crazy.
Right.
And they didn't hide it either. I remember driving down the turnpike, big billboards in Spanish. Don't get me wrong. Oh, come on.
Right.
We already know who we talking to.
Right.
It was crazy. It was like a fictional story. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But I mean, look, it's first days today or tomorrow, so hopefully good comes from this, and it's not just like one crappy option for the next crappy option. It's like hopefully something gets done. But I'm excited that they're addressing, or like claiming that they're going to address the food industry and the pharmaceutical industries, and they're going to actually address doing an audit of efficiency of the government, where all that money's going, and why there's so many departments that behind closed doors with red tape that no one can see. I mean, just goes back to my point again, like remember who works for who. And I really am optimistic and hopeful, because if you guys can lead by that example, that things can get done for the rest of us. I mean, I don't know if you're keeping up with what's going on in the UK, but the UK is just going bananas right now. I mean, like they're literally incarcerating people for voicing their opinion on social media.
I've seen that.
And they've got so much corruption in their government and such a chokehold on people's freedom at the moment. So hopefully for all of us, and especially for you guys over there who are having it pretty tough at the moment, that something really great and potentially positive can come out of this. So hopefully the next person that takes over can see that there's a better way to do this, and there's a more soft approach to this that is going to benefit the longevity of our species. That would be really cool. I like to think of it that way.
It'd definitely be really cool. It's funny you mentioned the UK. Isn't Andrew Tate running for the prime minister right now over there?
Sorry. Okay.
I think he announced he's running, innit? I don't know. That's what he said. But I've seen the videos you're talking about. I thought it was ridiculous, and it kind of is. America did lead the world in that, right? As far as that freedom of speech is concerned. And it started with the Biden administration when they literally were chokeholding like social medias into taking people's posts down. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, I think Americans have a very unusual or maybe misinformed version of Australia, but we've always, from the day we originated, had freedom of speech. We just don't promote it because we don't need to because we're free to speak. But yeah, it's an interesting point. It's very much not been free to speak, especially since 2020. Completely not free to speak on one subject, but the other side are completely free to say what they want. So it's a selective freedom of speech, which is not freedom of speech at all. I mean, you know, I can't remember the exact quote, but you know, I can despise and disagree with what you're saying, but I will fight to the death to defend your right to say it.
Right. I love that. I forgot who said that quote though.
And that was said by a woman. And I'm like, man, that is the strongest embodiment and epitomizes freedom of speech. And I think if we can't live by that credo, then we just don't have it, right?
Right.
Then there is censorship and control. And isn't that more communistic? Isn't that like, I mean, that's not democratic.
Yeah, it's definitely leaning more towards communism.
Yeah, again, it's like, and that chokes growth because I think like as humans and as industries, we grow from disagreement. That's where our learning curves are.
Yeah. Like discussing, having conversations like this. Duke, I don't want to feel like we're kidnapping you, man. I feel like I could go on forever.
Well, I love it. I could talk about this all day. I was
just saying 30 minutes before because I wasn't sure what my morning was going to look like.
Okay.
We've been doing these 18-hour days. It's been a slog. But I loved your review and watching you guys and the thought and the intelligence and you understood everything so deeply, and there was also so much passion for music. And as a music producer, I'm like, that's my community.
I loved you before I even met you. I'm like, I love these people.
Oh man, thank you. We love you too, man. Oh
yes, I didn't even. It wasn't even about the podcast or the show or the YouTube video. It was just I want to meet you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Oh, that's
Thank
dope,
you for
man.
being who you are, man. But the world needs you.
Oh,
it's amazing. Yeah.
That's listen. He just made my year. So that's all I needed this year. That's thank you, man. Thank you a lot for that. We really appreciate that, man. When we first did the review, I didn't even think it would. I thought it was gonna last probably like 5 minutes. Hey, we're just gonna say if we like it or what. But we had no choice and we couldn't stop going. We were like, you know what? Yeah, it was so thought provoking. As far as you and IMA are like, what conversations are you guys having right now as far as, you know, the reaction to the whole world and seeing how the power that you guys have behind the pen?
Yeah, that's a good question. Our lives have been turned completely upside down. It's been we're running pretty close to burnout at the moment, but the mission's keeping us going. I mean, we're marching through this like soldiers, and we know we don't have a choice but to do the work no matter what. What we're trying to figure out is like how independent we can keep this.
Right.
Essentially, you know, I don't know if you guys know a lot about the record industry, but it is gate kept like a motherfucker, and it is expensive to get your foot in the door. Really expensive. So it's been a freak of nature what we've done, because normally what would happen is a song explodes, but not the artist. Not for a song to explode and the artist, that means the artist already had their foot in the door. I did not have her foot in the door. I've got my foot in the door, so I've been able to unlock a lot of doors for us.
Right.
But yeah, I think the questions around it now is like, I don't want to have walked her out of one prison cell just to have a month of bail and then just put her back in jail again with the next record company. You know what I mean?
Right. Of course.
We just got out of that. those handcuffs. But it's expensive. It's expensive as all shit, you know. Like our publicist runs it like he wants to charge $7.5 grand USD a month. Radio plugging is like anywhere between $25,000 and $70,000 a song. You know, traveling to just getting her a US extraordinary alien visa, which I think you guys call it an 0102 visa. Getting that is like minimum 15K USD. So I don't know if you guys have been keeping count, but this is getting pretty big. And then, you know, then advertising and PR and making video content, let's say that's another 60 grand. Unfortunately, though, the problem is that the record gatekeepers, the record companies gatekeep these skill sets and tend to buy the companies that provide these skill sets to artists, so you can only get to them through their network. And to get to them through their network means you're doing an 80-20 split. And I don't know if you know how an 80-20 split works, but it's not what it sounds like. So they give you a nominal amount of money up front, and then they have complete ownership of that song on the licensing end, which is all the streaming, which is where the revenue is, apart from live. And then let's just talk around figures. So say they give you $100,000 and they do an 80-20 split with you. That means you don't see another dollar from your record until that whole $100,000 is paid back, but they only pay it back from your 20% portion.
Wow.
Not from the whole 100%. So meanwhile, they're pocketing on the 80% side. So if we're talking a round figure and we use $1 million as an example,
Right.
then you need to have made 1 billion streams just to break even on your 20% recoup side, but they've made 4 million.
Sheesh.
Plus, on top of that 4 million, then they get the advance that they gave you. So they're putting in 5 in their pocket, and you're at 0 just to break even.
Wow. That's a lot going on right there. So as far as you guys going independent, so what's the solution right now? Are you going to find a label or create your own, or are there some people, or do you draw up your own contract to make sure you don't get fucked?
You can't draw up your own contract. You can only refute and rebuke their contracts. So I don't know. We've been speaking to a lot of record companies, obviously, because every manager, every label, every booking agency, like I was saying before, would never have let us do this, but now that it's working, they want to get in on it. So there's a few things you can do. You can do a licensing deal on this song only and treat them in the same way they would treat you, as a stepping stone. So say, fine, we're going to give you a good portion of this, but we're absolutely not doing an 80-20, and we're going to do a 50-50, and it's going to be a lower value on the front end, but you're going to spend a lot on the marketing. So there's that route that you can do. The other route is you could go with one of the majors and try and trust them that they're going to turn her into the next big thing. And that's basically putting it all on black or putting it all on red. And it's a big payday up front, but money's not the mission here. And then the alternative and really interesting thing is, because there is so many people that support the movement of what we're doing, there's the possibility of doing private investment or donation from wealthy people on a philanthropist point of view. So, you know, these conversations have only really kicked off from like the 1st of January when the song really started to get heat. And the majority of that community came through X, that social platform, because Ryan Fournier, the leader of Students for Trump, did that retweet. And then Ian Carroll got involved. And then, you know, he's a massive voice in this, you know, critical thinker community. So, you know, a lot of conversations, but what we're trying to do is just trust the universe to guide us, keep our antenna on, which is how we got to here in the first place. Call that kooky, call me a hippie, whatever it is, man. I'm a creative. This is what I do. Just get the best out of the artists and just, you know, just at the moment, it's just having every conversation possible and just getting as much knowledge as possible, making as many allies as possible, and then surveying the options. And hopefully, the universe just provides the solution at the right time, and we just go with that route. We got a lot of plans. It's not like it's just a gamble, but you just never know how things are going to go, man. It's no matter who you get into business with, it can go great or it can go terrible. It's just like everything else in life.
I completely understand. I truly believe because of you guys' success on your own, that route to get donations from, the wealthy or whoever might be able to invest, they'll definitely see a return. If it's investment or even if they're just trying to get you guys on. So I definitely have a faith in that. I don't know. I think more independent artists actually try to go that route, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just the problem is it's just so gatekept, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
You need to know the right people and you need to have the right skill sets because, there's only so much an artist and their team can do.
Right.
If no one's letting them have a seat at the table because they can't buy their way.
Yeah, Danny, I don't mean to interrupt you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Who's saying that?
Why do you think that the music industry is so gatekept? Do you think it has anything to do with the major labels just trying to push an agenda to other people? 100%. And if you don't fit that, if you don't push the message that they want you to put, they just silence you. Do you think that's how big? Like if you would scale it, how big would that be?
Man, that's such a good question. I really don't know because I've never paid any attention to that narrative. I don't know, man. Maybe. I think above all else, it's just about money. I think it's, Universal essentially has a monopoly in the market. I mean, they're 80%.
Yeah.
Right.
At this point, they're just an asset acquirement company. They're not even in the music business. And then I think also the energy of the world right now is dark. So the dark is the cream of the crop coming to the top of music because the world's kind of been dark and it's been, objectifying women and it's been talking about violence and it's been trivial and non-conscious and, it used to be an artist's duty to commentate on the times and now it's like, hell no, you can't do that. Or just you're done. But that was normal. That was even up until the early 2000s. It was a normal place. Artists get inspiration from the world that they live in, and they would just talk about it in their songs. I mean, even Bob Marley. Not every song that he wrote was political or socially aware. It was he had the same thing with U2 and so many artists Tupac wrote Changes, but he also wrote so many songs that were nothing about that.
Right.
And that was just normal practice. That, hey, you're a musician, do that. Cool. That's you should. It's your job. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe that there is some sort of dark cabal controlling this, but I think it's just personally my thoughts is it's just the energy of the world was vibrating that way. So those were the things that were sticking. Also, I think the value of music in the general consumer's mind had just been devalued so much because of Spotify and social media. Spotify is such an interesting case. It's a music company that fucking hates music.
Right. That's crazy.
It's an anti-music company. It's just Daniel Ek is prolifically against paying artists money. So I don't know. It's such a big question. I don't really know how to answer that other than I wouldn't rule it out. Sure. Okay. But I would say that there probably is some sort of wing of the industry that is really interested in doing that. I mean, I hear the craziest rumors of what they're saying about the whole Diddy circus and Beyonce's involvement and all the satanic rituals and things like that. And you can't rule it out. I mean, if you believe in goodness, then you have to believe in darkness too.
Right.
But you also have to believe that somewhere in the middle is just the warm light, where there's yin and yang.
Right.
So
Since we're in the topic of labels, say if I was an artist, right,
yeah,
and I make music, what would be the best approach as far as independent, or should I go as far as like a label?
I mean,
Like you coming from the ghetto or the hood, or just an urban area.
it depends if you're motivated by the outcome.
That's a great way to put it.
Can you elaborate a little bit more, please?
If your only motivation to do the music is to see the outcome of success and not do the music because it is therapeutic for you in a way that it helps you express things that would otherwise be used negatively and fuck your life up, and then I would say going the label direction is the best way to go. But if you're doing it because it gives you an outlet to not fuck your life up, and it gives you an outlet for good, and you love music and you couldn't not do it anyway because you're just good at it, and it gives you community and it gives you friendship and kinship and direction, then independent is probably the best way to go because you're probably less concerned with the outcome. And I find that most artists that have that part of themselves succeed with an outcome of success, which is far larger than the outcome of the artist that did it for the money or the goal. Because I think success is a symptom of loving something truly. Love something truly, you will get fucking good at it. Give it everything you got because you're not doing it for the outcome. You're doing it because you're so almost delusional about it.
Yeah.
Because it does so much for you that you give so much to it that you end up becoming Kendrick.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm so glad you put it that way. Thank you so much for saying that. Sorry.
That's cool.
Like, I think people are beginning to understand me a little bit. Like I'm in a bit of an angry artist right now. Nah, because it's like y'all not real artists. Y'all out here just yeah. And you're an artist, I guess, in terms of like that's the space you're in. But it's like you don't live this for real. You understand? Like I don't know. I don't know if I'm really articulating myself well, but it's like it's more than just what it should look like. It's every aspect of the process, how it feels, like how your life influences like everything you put into the work, So again, we've been talking about, the song you and I have, worked on, and when I listen to you speak, it's like taking me back to like if I were in the room with Basquiat and all of the messages he put on the canvas. It's no different. It's just that your canvas actually has a voice and it's speaking it. So for me, it's like there are those who I'm not gonna knock you. Like for you, like if that's your goal, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go about it this way to get this money. Great, but I think that it begins to overshadow those of us who we breathe this. I don't like you'll hear me in a lot of my work. I don't give a fuck what you think because I'm not doing it about you. It's not about you. It's about me. It's about what I went through and how this made me feel. So it either resonate with you, you either get it or you don't. It's not, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. Like you have to, like some people will really dilute themselves because I'm not doing that. You don't like it, you ain't gotta like it. I'm gonna respect that. I'm gonna respect you don't like it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't have to. Like I like certain artists for different reasons. Like I'm not a big like Beyonce fan in terms of like she don't make music for me. But that doesn't mean I don't particularly like how she goes about her artistry and how she puts the work in when she performs on the stage, or you know what I'm saying, or how she does business as a woman. You understand what I'm saying? Like maybe I'm more of it's obvious I'm more of on Lauryn Hill's type of time because I understand that her life drives her music.
We love Lauren.
So
Love.
And you're so right, and I completely agree with that. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. I guess it was more just your point of like if you're from the ghetto and you're from the hood and you're trying to come up, it's like there's no right or wrong way to do it. But I feel like the people that really become those success stories, like, you look at Tupac and Snoop and Nas and all these amazing artists that have come from that world to more modern and contemporary, like Kanye and Kendrick's. Man, they were going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? Like, if the world never heard their records, they'd still be in the studio making those records. You know what I mean? But they just happened to land at the right time. And they also had an endless drive to do it. And maybe it was just divine intervention, and maybe it was their crazy work ethic, and maybe it was just their face. Who knows? There's so many things that just determine that. There is no, and also, like, sometimes music can just be fun. There's so many different kinds of music that people enjoy. No one likes everything. And sometimes music's just fun. Like, you don't want to go to a party and like put on this massive bummer of a song. That's like, like you're just trying to kick it with the homies. Here's Hurt by Johnny Cash. Like, not give me the cable.
You want to vibe out. You want to vibe.
Let's put on some fun thing. And then also, when you're a teenager and you're trying to be real tough and show the world that you are fully a man and you can hold your ground, then you're not putting on like Lauryn Hill. So like there's a place and a moment for music everywhere. I feel like music is the narration of our lives, right? As listeners, as fans, as audience. And then there's the music that you keep in your heart, and that's the music that speaks to your soul. And that's different music too.
The Sades of the world.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, from all walks of life. I mean, you've got people that resonate. Yeah, and then there's the breakup song as well. And then there's the victory song when you get that win. And then there's that celebration song when you just kiss the bride. And then there's that sad song when you lose a child. And then there's the song that reminds you of your grandmother in your childhood that makes you cry. And then there's so many moments with music. So I think just the truest journey to success is just like, be good at it, live and breathe it. And in this market right now, if you can, I would say there's no better time to be independent, because depending on the level of the outcome you want, you can be truly successful and make a living from this. Independently. It's just massively complicated. But the label route's massively complicated too. Music and sports is like the two toughest things that you can want to do. Like, I've got a son who's 7, and I would never, ever want to nurture his desire to be an artist or a music producer for that matter. I mean, with music production, it's also intensely difficult to build a life for yourself as well. So it's like, man, I would say if you can get into music as a secondary option and a hobby with love, and it kicks off for you like it has for Iyah, best outcome for sure. But not everyone's got that opportunity. Just make music, man, because music's good for the soul.
I agree with that. Music definitely speaks to the soul.
Yeah.
100%. But Danny, is there anything else you wanted to discuss before we close off for tonight? Or for the morning?
This has been an incredibly rewarding conversation. I think we've covered so much. I'm good. I mean, is there anything that was like you thought was too taboo to ask? I'm an open book. So if you guys had anything you're like,
you guys got anything
to ask?
Yeah, something that's super weird. I have a million of them, but
no, I'm not super weird. Sorry, but I mean, it seemed like
I'd love to hear your music. By the way,
I got you.
It's on the way. It's on the way.
I got you.
Yeah. Where are you at?
Well, and it's interesting. I got you for real. Because I've seen like a few of the artists like you've worked with.
Yeah.
The Zambian artist Sampa. Interesting.
She's wild. She's such a great soul.
It's given like Tribe Called Quest Far Side, Diggable Planets, the Better Days y'all did. Like,
Yeah, man.
that was tough. That was tough. And then it seems like you have a thing for working with artists who have big messages. I'm picking on you though. I saw No Name on there, and No Name a couple of years ago. Well, not intentionally, but there was this back and forth exchange about No Name and J. Cole
Yeah.
over a song he had, and apparently, I don't know. I think it was all speculation. Y'all remember that time? No, this was like a couple of years. No. Okay, but that's cool. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What are some signs you and an artist will work well together? How can you tell?
That is the most important question.
I know.
What I tend to do normally is I need to meet you and hang out with you for a long time first, and get to know your mind, if that's an option. Especially if I'm going to develop an act. That's we don't make music for like the first month. We get to know each other. We've got to love each other first and become friends. Because I have to be an asshole in the studio. Like I have to and be like, no, you're not digging. If I don't get that option, like for example, when it's like with Lizzo or something, then I just do the best that I can with what I'm given. We'll make something from scratch, and then if the universe wants to give it to us that day, it will. And if it doesn't, then fuck. You know what I mean? It's just like that. But I tend to want to know. I say this on my website, and I kind of live by it. Like my job as a producer is to truly be able to understand and unlock an artist's most truest desire and intention for their music. And a lot of artists don't know what that is. It's really hard to know who you are until there's a mirror in front of you that you're forced to look at. And that's what I do really well. I think music production, not beat making and music production are very different things. I think as a song producer, as an artist producer, my job is more psychology and coaching than it is about the tools and the song. And I know that sounds like really counterintuitive to making music, but it really is. I'm looking for that spark in someone that they're just like, they either have a breakdown or their eyes light up like I've never seen them when they talk about something. And I'm like, that's the moment. We freeze, stop. Nothing changes. We do not move a cup in this room, like right here, right now. We play the music now, we write. Like this is that moment. And then I'll reverse engineer the song from there. So we'll write to almost nothing, sometimes not even drums. And then we're like, okay, what's that song about? Now we build a sound that sounds like that story. Or in Karmageddon's case, that sounds like the opposite of what that story is, because I want it to be sarcastic.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I used the Mellotron from the Beatles' Strawberry Fields, which is like really nostalgic, and the beat's really bubblegum, and it's like super happy. It's like no, it's like message. And what I was trying to do was make a song that the normalist normie could enjoy, and not be confronted by what they're listening to, and just be like, oh, this is so polite and pleasant. And then when that chorus comes in, all right, here's the grit. So like, I think that with what I do, that's my process, and it doesn't work for many people. But that's what I like to do. And I tend to have a better strike rate with women than I do with men, because men do not want to open that wide. You know what I mean? It takes a pretty self-aware dude to be like, yeah, I'll go there with you. Like, my childhood, you want to talk about the shit that's happened to me, and we just met. Like, this is how we meet. This is intense. You know, not a lot of dudes like fuck with that. So then we just go to beat making. But when it comes to production, I think that's where I can do my best work, is like really tapping into that and being like kind of connected to you intensely, where you feel like fully safe to say whatever you need to say.
Nice.
Yeah. That's fire right there. 100%. As far as like making like music, I know everybody has their own process, but when you truly connect with it, like the way that you're saying, I think that's the best way to do it. You know, especially if you're connecting with the producer, whoever's, if they're really honed in like that, that's how you can really create magic. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's not to say that you can't create magic a lot of other ways. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea what Quincy was doing with his artists, and like there's so many great producers. I think some producers are the opposite of me, and they're like super fun. They just they turn it into a party, and they get that great party track. And we can do.
Who's your favorite producer?
Contemporary or of all time?
All time.
Oh, I'd say George Martin and Quincy would be neck and neck.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. So George Martin pulled the best out of the Beatles, and Quincy pulled the best out of everyone he worked with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Pulled the best out of himself, and rest in peace. I mean, to both of them, but absolute visionaries. Of contemporary times, I would say, man, so many good producers contemporarily. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't. Maybe what's that dude with the big beard? That white. He's a white dude. He's kind of overweight.
Oh gosh.
It starts with an R, I think. God damn it.
And it's a really long one. He's
Really
bald.
he looks like crazy. He's got like bald head, big white.
Rick Rubin?
Yeah, Rick Rubin. I knew it was an R.
Rick Rubin.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
It's funny because I tell my cousin all the time, you are like the Rick Rubin of our time. Y'all will see.
Sorry, what? Who, you are?
My cousin. I tell him he's the Rick Rubin.
Oh right, yeah. I like Rick a lot. I mean, he's had an amazingly diverse career too, right? Like, I think that's also an interesting note too, because he's worked with everyone. I mean, doesn't matter what genre it's been, and he doesn't even know how to engineer. I don't think. Like, he just kind of.
It's how he talks about it though, like the way he talks about the process he goes through with artists. Yeah, I listen to him a lot. Like, I like to.
Yeah.
He's kind of interesting because it's like, here's a guy who says he's never done any drugs at all. He just takes deep breaths and is able to tap into, and yeah. So when he talks about the way he goes through his process with artists, it's interesting, and that's why I kind of borrow. I mean, I work by myself in a sense.
Yeah.
So I do that. I allow myself to just get it out how it needs to come out. Like, when you hear, it's like I have a Rick Rubin in my ear. Like, you don't ever know when the bridge is, maybe that's a bridge. Maybe that's a hook. I don't know. But it's like, I need structure, but I also, at the same time, I need to be able to run around freely.
Yeah.
I need to be able to touch everything and, touch everything and look around and say the first thing that comes out of my head, explore why I said it, or it doesn't have to be that deep, but I need that space. So, when he talked about the experience he has with artists, it was very, inspiring for me to hear. Like, it was interesting.
Yeah, no, I think it resonates, and what an illustrious career he's had. I mean, he's lit. How about you guys? What are your favorite producers?
Oh man, artists who've worked with specific producers. I could go as far back as the '90s. As certain, because there's certain beats that I can never get out of my head. I could just be sleeping and it just pops up in my head. Timbaland comes to mind.
Hey, absolutely.
Yeah,
Fire.
like he's a just a genius within himself. Kanye is definitely.
I was gonna say Kanye.
Yeah.
Kanye would probably be my number one for contemporary producers. I love that dude, man. I think I think that the world is doing him so dirty.
I know.
Yeah.
He was like our last superhero, man.
No, it's for real.
Yeah.
I put that in a song.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Yeezy shook up them streets, cuz y'all niggas folded up y'all speakers. I put that shit on them sneakers. I got blood on the leaves, I'm preaching. Y'all niggas ain't know I was street rich.
Hey,
Listen,
kill it.
nah, because I was in the footwear industry for a hot minute, okay?
Yeah.
For a hot minute. And like, you know, the guys that I were around, like, you know, these guys were down in Wyoming. You know, I remember I went into a footwear studio out in Philadelphia, and I was gonna take up a gig over there, and someone wanted to cross reference me, so he was like, "Oh yeah, you know so and so." I'm gonna go hit him. Went in the back and hit him up. He was like, "Yeah, I just hit up so and so." He said, "Yeah, he know you. He down in Wyoming right now. Yay!"
Oh wow. Yeah.
And so, like for me, it was like during that time, I fucked with, you know, Kanye really opened doors for us.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like I had a similar path, like coming from a spoken word background as well.
Mm.
For me, I feel like that was like, you know, big bruh.
Yeah.
Big bruh right there. Yeah.
I feel like for all of us in music, anyone that's like can appreciate music of every genre, I think he opened a lot of doors for everyone. He opened so many doors for me creatively. Like, holy shit, just like the sky's the limit. Put it on tape. The way he writes, it's like he's talking to himself. It's amazing. Like the courage it takes to say the shit he says.
Yeah.
And the craftsmanship to make it still bang and slap like that. It's crazy. You know, he's the new Michael Jackson, like in the sense of understands the craft so well.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's a loon, just like Michael's, like so weird. Kanye's weird, but he's weird in the fucking funniest way. Doesn't give a shit way. And I think the world needs more people that just don't give a fuck. Like,
word.
Yeah, man. What happened to not giving a fuck and just saying what's on your chest?
Yeah.
People are afraid now. You have to just
fuck that.
You gotta just say what's in your heart, because it's a short life right now as far as compared to the infinity of all time. You know, life is beautiful. You should be free to express anything that's on your heart, anywhere, in any sort of fashion, as far as when it comes to any type of art.
I also think, you know what it is? Anything you say, it's like that. That's it. That's the limit for you. Like, and in the same token, you have to understand where people are in a given space and time. Like maybe that's where they were then when that came out. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe they've gone through things in life and they learned in the you know, they've had a different experience that shifted their perspective. Right. But folks won't know that till they give themselves, you know, the permission to have that personal experience where it's like, you know what, that's where I was at then. Here's where I am now. You know, so sometimes we get ready to charge people like, nah, but you had said this and that and the third. But how about you look at the person's track record? Where are they now? Right. Yeah. You know, what things have they gone through that have shifted, you know, the mindset, the perspective? I think sometimes that's why we're so scared, because you know, the world's a little unforgiving. But don't get me wrong, at the same time, oh the fuck, well, okay, I said that before and this is what I'm saying now. What's up?
Yeah, and also, hey, maybe I've grown and changed my mind on shit.
That's it.
Didn't we all? Like, I'm nothing like I was when I was 14.
You mentioned Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is under fire right now because he's, I think, performing at the inauguration. And 2016, he had a video. He was coming for people like, who's gonna, you know, I don't know. I saw it on X. Mm-hmm. But it's like, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. It's like, okay, perhaps that was the attitude then. We've had, what, 8 years?
Yeah.
So.
A lot of shit.
Yeah. So, performing at the inauguration, blah, blah, blah. Well, because you know what? How you as a person, if you knew what it was like to grow and shift your mindset and, you know, to have the cojones to change your mind, you might would have that compassion. And me, you'll always hear me say that. I'm a big on compassion. Have a little compassion, one for yourself. And when you have that for yourself, you have it for the next person.
For real.
You know, we can have that dialogue. We can disagree. It's fine. And we can move on.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that the world's different now, so it doesn't forgive that because everyone's just saying it on the internet. But if you went to Snoop and said, whoever had these grievances went up to him and said what they said, he'd be like, let's talk about that.
Right.
This is why that happened, and that's who I was then.
Right.
Yeah, that was, I maybe don't agree with that now. My bad. Right. But like, how about where we're at now? And then it's over and everyone's like, oh yeah, that's actually,
valid.
My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Right.
Yeah, you don't give people the chance on the internet to respond to that. And normally they're not saying it to the person either. They're just saying it to the community. And everyone's like, yeah, pitchfork.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Feed on negativity.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah,
lot of
man.
people, they feed on that. They feed on negativity, and that's another thing I'd like to bring up with everybody here. As far as you being a producer, Iyah, we're talking about people who are putting stuff online that are negative. I always say that, like, I don't like when people, artists, specifically artists or actors, whoever is online who's famous, that they see something negative, some random person says online, and that one or two negative comments, they address it. When they have millions of people who show so much love and support, why do we give like that negativity any attention?
I know. I've been coaching Iyah through that right now. She's had a few moments of weakness, and I'm like, I've seen her get worked up, and I'm like, that's beneath you now. Like, if you address it, you're disrespecting yourself. Don't.
I would also
Don't
suggest
give
that.
energy.
Yeah, of course. I would also suggest that, I always say an elephant does not try to swat flies. You know?
That's it. I love that.
I think I saw this African. An elephant does not try to swat its flies. Okay? It just goes to the fountain and drinks the water. You know what I'm saying? So so that's something that's good that she has you there coaching her through it, because I know it gets a lot, because we're all human at the end of the day, and we care about what other people think, and if it's something that's out of the way, but when you pay attention to how many people around you show you love, or even online, if you have all these people who are giving you these positive comments, we have to like drown that negativity out, man. I don't even like paying attention to that shit.
100%. It's so true. It is. It's I don't know. It's part of the human condition, right? We are in our weakness when we let people get under our skin.
100%.
That's our own insecurity coming forward, and that's our. I guess you would call that our inferior ego coming to the surface.
Right.
And the more you engage with that, then the more effect it has on you in the future. And that's what I was trying to explain to her. It's like, it's beneath you now. Like, that's just water off a duck's back now, man. Because, like, you don't even know if that person's like a bot, or if that is just like some 70-year-old virgin that still lives with his like 99-year-old grandmother in the basement that's never even like never lived any of his dreams. Is just putting shit on you because you're doing shit. And obviously with all the controversy around the song, there's been quite a bit of hate thrown her way. That just takes practice, man. I think artists that do address that, you got to forgive them for it, man. Because it's like, they're probably either having a shit day, or that person really pushed a button, and they just had a moment of weakness and just fucking called it out. But it doesn't look good, does it?
No,
it's not.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it dehumanizes you a bit.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. I don't know if you guys have anything else you guys want to bring up. Danny, do you have any other questions or any other things you want to talk about right here tonight?
No, man. Just thank you guys, times infinity, for doing what you do. And for
man, thank you, bro. Like you giving us those compliments, letting us know what you thought about it. It's definitely worth it. At the end of the day, we're just happy we have people around the world like you and Iyah, who are logical thinkers and a part of this, human society by which we're going to all raise our consciousnesses together and move forward in a positive light, man. I want y'all to keep going. Don't stop, please.
Thank you, man. Thank you. We got your backs anytime, man. And I would love to hear your music.
I got you.
I'm excited to hear that. And man, just keep doing what you're doing. You guys are on the precipice of something great, and the world needs you. We'll do our best to keep rallying with you guys, man. Because you guys are mad. It's fucking awesome.
All right, Dannyduke, man. The blunt of reality. We had something else we wanted to say.
No, that's it, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. We're in complete shock, man. Yeah, we hope we see you again. You know, we're gonna definitely stay in contact and all of that.
Absolutely. And apologies if I can't follow you guys back on Instagram. But Instagram's taken my ability to follow people away.
Damn.
Wow.
That's weird. That's weird. But,
Yeah.
okay.
No, it's literally, I'll show you guys right now. Look. Got my phone out. I got you here. Blunt of reality. All right, hang on. So I see the follow, right? I hit follow back and wait for it. Wait for it. No, I just got it back. That's awesome.
That was that Haitian shit, bro.
You guys did it.
This guy. Oh my God.
For 2 months, I haven't been able to follow people who would come up saying that your account's restricted from taking that activity.
Divine intervention.
Oh
Yeah.
man, blood of reality magic, baby. That's what it is.
You guys,
You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
You guys are my first follow since this song came out.
Oh my
Fire.
god, that is such a that's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's mad. I'm smiling. I'm happy as. That's awesome. I've been feeling so rude. Like, people have been so supportive, and like, I've been having these awesome chats with people, and I'm like, they're following me, and it looks super rude. I'm not following them back. Like, I think I'm better than you. So
Nah, it's perfectly fine. Don't think like that.
yeah, man. No, that's awesome. Well, that's great. So I can stay connected with you guys via social media now. That's awesome.
100%.
Man. All right. Peace, gang.
Yes.
All right.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Man-made virus, watch the